3 operational inefficiencies that are costing you a lot of money in your business today and how to fix them. That is what we are going to talk about today. When it comes to inefficiencies, listen, I have worked a lot in this area and I absolutely love teaching how to spot these inefficiencies, how to solve them moving forward, so you never have to go back and keep redoing the thing over and over. I'm Emily and I am the co-founder of Transformative Leadership, and as most of you know, I like to keep it honest, real, and to the point on my channel. So we're going to dive right into it in the inefficiencies and the things that are really you're losing money in your business, and they're pretty quick fixes to turn it around. So whether you are making millions already or you're just starting out, this information will be helpful for you as you scale and grow. And I come with a background in automotive. As most of you know, I've spent a lot of time in the automotive culture, and it was like lean manufacturing, lean principles, and very process driven. And I'm super grateful for that, because today that's what we get to help our clients do, is really put in processes that will streamline their operations, save them money, and they don't have to worry about outgrowing their operations. So with that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is inefficient processes. This happens everywhere, and it's really interesting when I go into different stores or get different services. I can spot the inefficiencies really quick, right? Because that's my strong skill set. If it's not your strong skill set, one of the things I would say to look at is doing a process audit or a process mapping, or really looking at your process back, like just taking a few steps back and being like, what is in this process that really does not provide value, or it's an extra step, maybe we can take the step out. Or if you're doing things off of a spreadsheet, automate that, like get rid of that. Because if you're doing things off spreadsheet, so interesting how many people work off of Excel spreadsheets when that could just be like a formula dumped into something else, or there's a tool that can help you do that for free. It's like if you were to email all your prospects just using email and not using a CRM system, right? That's an inefficient process. So one of the solutions is doing process mapping, and then also starting to look at things from a continuous improvement mentality. Like, how can I improve? And if you have a team, highly recommend start teaching them these things. Give them the tools where they can come up with ideas, they can come up with things that will help them really expand, like, how can we improve our process? What are some steps we can do? This will really help not just your business, but it will also help your team generate those ideas. Number 2 that we see a lot of that causes a lot of loss of money is ineffective communication and collaborations. This is more in the bigger realm, right? And more in a corporate setting. So many departments work in silos. They're not collaborating. They're not sharing the lessons that they have learned, right? Just because sales works in this org, or you have operations that does this, or you have production that does this, they're never on the same page. And that costs a lot of back and forth email communications, back and forth meetings. You have a meeting to have a meeting to then have a meeting to get the solution, right? So there's all this waste of time. So for that solution, because you're really wasting a lot of man hours. If you think of a meeting, you have a team of 10 people in that meeting and they're all making over 6 figures, that's an expensive meeting. So how can you create more collaboration, cross-functional teams, and get to be very effective in the communication of, this is who needs to be there, this is what the agenda is. Don't allow meetings without agendas. Have the agenda in place, have what the outcomes are going to be, and then afterwards, this is huge for a lot of people, afterwards send those notes out with action items and track the action items. Because if you don't, within a couple of weeks, you're going to have the same exact meeting starting at the same starting point. You're now having meetings that you had 3 months ago that you still didn't get a solution for. It's because no one is following up on those action items. So following up on the action items, making sure that they're actually doing it, and then keeping that communication more cross-functional. So if you have a bigger organization and you have a lot of departments, have some department meetings. Make sure that they're effective. Hey, what's this department doing? How's this affecting this? Because a lot of times things can be solved if we can communicate effectively and we can listen effectively. That's a whole other leadership thing. And I'll do more videos on how to effectively listen and communicate clearly as leaders, because I think that's just a skill that every single business owner, leader needs to have and needs to understand to be able to go wherever they want to go and whatever they want to do. The next one is no KPIs or reporting. This one costs you a lot of money. If you don't have KPIs set, where are you going, right? Your KPIs are your key performance indicators. And every single person in your business should have a KPI. And the reason why this is to think of your overall company vision, your overall company goal. If you want to say you want to sales is 1 million or 10 million, and then your operations is customer service, no open tickets past this, or your quality maybe, 0 out of 100, or whatever those KPIs are, you can take those overall company goal numbers and break them down all the way down to entry level positions, all the way down to the assistant, and make sure that they tie into their company goals. That's one of the things when I worked in automotive that I did, and that was take the North American goal and take it and put it down for the plant goal, to the division, to the department, all the way down, so that every single person knows how they're tying into the company goals and what their goals and their standards are. If you don't set standards, and if you don't set KPIs and you don't hold them accountable to those, you're not going to hit your numbers. That's bottom line, right? That's like running rampant, because you don't know. You're going to have one team going this way, other team going this way, and no one's on the same page with the company values and the goals. So that costs you a lot of money, because you have different teams making decisions that are not aligned to the overall company KPI. And I'll do more videos on how to effectively set KPIs and start getting your leaders in your team on board with your KPIs. It's not that difficult to set them once you know what the overall company vision is. And as a CEO, you should know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, you need to start there and then trickle those KPIs down, and then create a KPI tracker. We have all of our clients we send them an overall form, and then they go in and just plug and play with the KPI tracker that we have. So if you guys need a KPI tracker, feel free to email us. We'll send it to you. But with the KPIs, it's really holding them accountable to what was overall company goal. So we have sales, right? That's pretty cut and dry. You have quality, that's base them off of SMART goals, right? The specifics, the measurables, like make sure that they can actually be measured by some metrics, because if it's not, they're just not going to stick to it. And then comes the fun piece of implementing the KPIs and holding them accountable. And they should be tracking their KPIs on at least a minimum of a weekly and monthly basis. And so then you can have yearly, monthly, weekly, daily if you needed. If you have someone in the day-to-day operations, they will need some KPIs, right? If you're running production, for example, when we were running production, we had a daily KPI that we had to meet. If we did not hit that goal, we had to understand why, what happened, and to make sure that we did a root cause analysis so that it didn't happen again. So if you are a small business, you can basically take the same format and the same structure and do it for your business, right? So corporate versus business is going to be a little bit different metrics, but it's all the same format. It's all the same way. It's really setting it up so that way you can hold yourself accountable. You know how to, what your numbers are. And then also, I would say one of the other things we find that is usually blows my mind is they set the KPI and then there's not the tools and resources to hit that KPI, right? Or they set the KPI and then they realize, oh my goodness, it's not going to work. Well, this is where you kind of just pivot, right? You kind of shift and pivot to what is going to work and how can we set this KPI so everyone is on board. And the other thing is when you set these KPIs, these are the opportunities to have that conversation with your team of hey, your role, this is what your KPIs are in this role, and this is how you overall affect the company's vision. So they kind of feel like they're tied to something bigger, right? They're not just in their own silo, and it helps just with a lot of collaborations. So top 3, go implement some KPIs, do some process auditing, some process mapping. Also look at your communication. Understand, does your team know how to communicate effectively via email, verbal, whatever it may be? And start there. Start developing that, because at the end of the day, you know, I've said this probably a million times on my channel and in my content that I create is, what you don't change does not change. It just doesn't. So if you know you need a change, implement these changes. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. I will be posting some more videos on this, some short and long form. If you have questions or comments on anything operations, business, leadership, and spirituality, drop them in the comments and I'm happy to do a video for them.